Hello, everyone. Welcome to Womanosity for Women with Curiosity, like you and me and every guest I bring to you. And isn't it true that women are curious beings? If we weren't, where would our world be? We rock this world with our curiosity because it drives us, it drives our families, it drives our relations, it drives everything that happens on this planet. Without women, frankly, nothing would have happened. Would you agree? So again, welcome. I'm so happy you're here today. I have someone very special to introduce to you. Please welcome with me my friend, Barbara Nussbaum in Cape Town. We got a local girl here today. Now, let me tell you, Barbara describes herself as a social impact leader. She's a speaker, an author, and a mentor who supports people as a thinking partner and a catalyst for individuals and companies who want to develop their social and intellectual capital. She's also a pioneer and the founder of Finding Us in Music. And we're going to talk about finding us in music. Barbara says that we all need to belong. That is so true. We all have that sense, that desire of belonging. Barbara is an acclaimed South African creative arts therapist who designed and created Finding Us in Music team building methodology workshops. I know that's a mouthful, but that's what she's done. And she's used that methodology to touch thousands of people, not only in South Africa, but in Germany, India, Japan, America, and even in the Netherlands. This social practice helps people find meaning, and it helps them feel connected to others. During these extraordinary times we're living in, when people are beginning to meet face to face again in many places, Barbara says that we are gifted with an opportunity to renew a sense of belonging to a shared purpose. Her refreshing approaches in her workshops set the scene for deeper learning and meaningful engagement. Her clients say that Barbara's program called Becoming an African Lion, if you're a man, and Becoming an African Lioness, if you're a woman, gives them a creative pathway for leadership development. And her music for building effective groups provides a powerful way to bring everyone's voice into the room. That is so important. Barbara is also a noted author who talks about the culture of ubuntu and how it can benefit the world. I couldn't agree more. Barbara says in a very passionate voice that because of Ubuntu, it's Africa's time to lead. I agree with that as well. Well, believe it or not, Barbara is a U.S. citizen, but she's originally from Zimbabwe, and she's based in South Africa. So you're not going to hear an American accent like mine. She's also a graduate of the London School of Economics, and she understands why businesses need her music-centric programs to deliver dynamic results. Barbara also co-authored Sawubona Africa, Enabling 4 Worlds in South Africa Management. She also wrote Personal Growth African Style. I hope you've had a chance to study them. If not, go take a look for them. Sawubona Africa, Enabling 4 Worlds in South African Management, and also Personal Growth African Style. I wish I would have been in those workshops. Today, we're going to talk about those 2 books and more. Welcome, Barbara Nussbaum in Cape Town to Womanosity for Women with Curiosity. I'm so happy you're here with me.
Tadia, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here with you. And it's great to be talking both to the women of South Africa and to the women of the world and my sisters in America.
Well, your audience are going to appreciate very much what you have to tell them. So let's just jump right in. Let's first talk about Finding Us in Music. This is a program you created. You founded the movement. Please explain what it's all about. That Finding Us in Music builds connections and a sense of belonging. I want to know more.
Thanks, Tadia. So let me tell you how it works first, and then you'll get a sense of what it is. So finding us in music, it's a small group engagement methodology. So how it works, I will contract with a team leader. Say it's a natural team in a company, in a nonprofit, in a university setting, any team really. And we decide on a theme. The theme could be, how do we discover each other's leadership qualities? How do we understand more about the gift that each person brings to the team? How do we understand each person's hopes and dreams? How do we understand each person's sources of resilience? We decide on a topic, and then I will send a two-pager to everyone in the team, and people have a week to think about their song. So, for example, let's say, okay, Taddy, what is your gift to the world? And you would have to take 7 days and think, okay, what song am I going to play which describes my gift? And then we come back together in a group. I set up all kinds of safety. Music evokes feelings, and it can be quite a vulnerable space to share a piece of music that's really, really important to you. I ask people to choose music that they love, that they resonate with. You would play your music, you would give the context, you would explain the meaning, why you've chosen that music. You'd have 5 minutes for that. And then I invite people to listen with reverence, with respect, and with the intention to really understand you. And also with no judgment. That's important. There are listening guidelines, and they create safety. Say you would play your song, and then I would role model how to give feedback to you from a very deep place. I would say, Talia, I can really hear how that song reflects your desire to just empower women and enable women. This is how I heard it. I heard it in that line. I heard it in that instrument. So I would listen carefully to you. So I'd role model how to listen and give feedback. And then everyone in the group would give you feedback. You get feedback from 6 or 8 people who you know. This works best in a natural team, people who know each other somewhat.
I think that is wonderful. Does it have to be a song? Does it have to be sung, or can it just be an instrumental? Can it be in any language?
It can be any language, any genre. It can be instrumental. Mostly people choose a song and then we listen to the song. Once or twice, someone has sung a song, but it's usually played. Any genre, any language.
Oh, that's fantastic. Indeed, the power of music is really immeasurable. I know that scientific and psychological studies show that music lifts our moods, it combats depression. And I was surprised to find out it improves blood flow. It lowers our levels of stress related cortisol. It can ease our pain. It can even improve the outcomes for patients after surgery. I tried that one myself, and it's absolutely true. Music also drives social change and inspires humans to far greater accomplishments. Why do you think that is?
The Bono of the U2 offers a powerful answer. It's such an extraordinary thing, music. It is how we speak to God, finally, or how we don't. It's the language of the spirit. If there is a spirit, music is the thing that wakes it up. And it seems to be how we communicate on another level. So in short, music elevates and deepens the energy in the room. Music opens our hearts. It helps us empathize. It helps us resonate with others. And I mean, so much has been written about music. That's just a little glimpse.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, it certainly is another channel of learning. And what you do is a very innovative way of modeling inclusiveness, especially when you create that safe, respectful, and sacred space for people to feel valued and listened to. That's really wonderful. Now, you are an expert on the philosophy of Ubuntu. Did the practice of Ubuntu lead you to creating music workshops?
Actually, I got into the music workshops before I got into Ubuntu. And Ubuntu became something that I studied as part of my journey with music. Yeah, that's the short answer. That's a short answer.
Really, only a short answer?
Tadia, I had a life-changing moment when I was 28 years old. I was living in Houston and really not liking my job. I went to see a therapist and she said, Barbara, just feel your feelings, feel what comes up. So one day I was listening to music and it was a Jewish folk song. And that song was life-changing. It evoked tears, it evoked some kind of awakening. And the impact of the song and how I held it helped me remember who I was. I was an immigrant to America and I wasn't liking certain things about the culture and the work environment. And this music helped me remember who I was. And I made a promise to myself, and it became a personal vision that I wanted to help every person that I met hear themselves through music, hear their potential, hear their dreams, hear their truth through music. And so that went on to a decision to study creative arts therapies. I went to Philadelphia. I did a 2-year creative arts therapies degree, knowing I was not interested in pathology, but I wanted to get the credential and the training to be able to hold space for how people could use music and dance as well to be who they were.
All right. So why music as opposed to dance?
Well, for me, it was going to be both, Tadia, because I think music and dance give us access to our wholeness and our energy. But during my degree, I developed arthritis. I woke up one day, I could not walk. And so I actually was on crutches for 7 weeks and then had a very difficult decision. Do I complete the degree or not? And I decided I'm going to complete the degree because I could also learn about music and art. And music was a natural talent I had anyway. That's what happens. That's what happened to me. And I've stuck to music. And actually, the fact that I can't dance like I used to has meant that I can listen to music even more deeply. It's like the music has gone into my heart.
So you often say that we need to learn to listen with conscious intention. What do you mean by that?
There's so many ways to listen to music. You can have music as background. You can use music to exercise to. In a Finding Us in Music group, or when you're doing Becoming an African Lioness, I invite people to listen with conscious intention. So what this means is that you listen with the intention of trying to understand yourself, trying to understand the other. And what happens when you're listening with conscious intention, you deepen your understanding of yourself. And when you're listening to another person, and particularly when you're listening without judgment, your conscious intention opens up your heart. And even if you don't like the music, even if you don't like someone who plays Eminem or heavy metal, you open your heart and you understand, wow, this person really needs to listen to Eminem. He's an angry young man. She's an angry young woman. And that's why. So it's all about how the energy of your intention, the depth of the way you listen changes the way you hear and changes the atmosphere in the group.
How can I become an African lioness?
When you become an African lioness, you just listen to yourself and you are first asking yourself some questions. The questions are, Tadia, what is unique about you? And then you choose a piece of music to describe it. Then you ask the question, what are my strengths? And then you choose your strengths. Is it discipline? Is it compassion? And then you choose music for each strength. And then you ask yourself, how do I become resilient when the going gets tough? And then you say, okay, this is my prayer music. This is my meditation music. This is my running music. And then I've got about 10 questions that you would ask that help you becoming an African lioness. You would not have to listen to Eminem. With the lioness, you only listen to yourself and you are feeling into your power. You are naming and claiming the magic of who you are, the power of who you are.
Oh, that's wonderful. You know what that reminds me of? The song that Whitney Houston sang called I Don't Know My Own Strength. Let's play that now because I think it's just perfect to go with what you're saying. So don't go away, anyone. Enjoy Whitney Houston singing I Don't Know My Own Strength because I think that for women, most of us don't. But we got it. It's there. We got to claim it, got to name it. Like Barbara says, it's for us to be.
Lost touch with my soul. I had nowhere to turn, I had nowhere to go. Lost sight of my dream, thought it would be the end of me. I thought I'd never make it through. I had no hope to hold on to. I thought I would break. I didn't know my own strength, and I crashed down, and I tumbled, but I did not crumble. I got through all the pain. I didn't know my own strength, survived my darkest hour. My faith kept me alive. I picked myself back up, hold my head up high. I was not built to break. I didn't know my own strength. Oh. Found hope in my heart. I found the light to light my way out of the dark. Found all that I need here inside of me. Oh, I thought I'd never find my way. Kept me alive. I picked myself back up, hold my head up high. I was not built to break. I didn't know my own strength. There were so many times I wondered how I get through the night. I thought I took all that I could take. Didn't know my own strength, and I crashed down and I tumbled, but I did not crumble. I got through all the pain. Oh, I didn't know my own strength. My faith kept me alive. I picked myself back up. I hold my head up high. I was not built to break. I didn't know my own strength.
We're back, my dear sisters and a few brothers who've joined us. Thank you very much for being gentlemen and being here with us to support us. Now, we're with Barbara Nussbaum. She's in Cape Town, South Africa, and we've been talking about becoming a lioness or a lion. We've been talking about claiming our own strengths. We've been talking about music and listening with intention. So important. You know, you tell a delightful story about an amazing woman that I know about from Ghana, Ama Ata Aidu, who was the Minister of Education. Oh, she was feisty. And then she took refuge from Ghana and went to Zimbabwe. You met her at a Zimbabwean writers event, and you discussed your research about the Black Athena. Okay, now open that door. What is the Black Athena, Barbara?
So here's the story. I gave Amma a lift back to her flat. We're sitting in Harare, and the Newsweek arrives, and she opens it, and on the cover it says, "Was Cleopatra black?" And she said, "Hey, Barbara," well, she says it in her accent. She said, "I've got to read this." And she's saying, "This is like the Berlin Wall is coming down." I said, "What's happening?" She said, "People are understanding that civilization started in Africa. Maybe Athena was black, and Cleopatra was definitely black." And I looked at Amma and I said, "Amma, do you think Jesus was black?" And she said, "Barbara, of course." She said, She said, "All of us were black." And then I don't know what happened. Some of the people decided to go north, away from the beautiful sunshine of Africa to Europe, and they lost their color. So that was Amma.
I agree with her completely. Now, how old is she now? She must be about 80.
She is 80 years old, and I was reading about her last night. And early on, she wrote novels about the paradoxical position of modern African women. And she was saying that becoming a more Western person was not everything. And I for sure want to read some of her novels.
Yes, yes. Maintaining Africanness is very important because I think, indigenous peoples all over the world have a purity of thought that for some reason gets lost when a Western centric thought seems to become the standard for them. I have found that to be true. I don't know if anyone else would agree with me, but I don't care because that's what I think. So, and you've said that the world is waking up to the idea that we are really connected. We're really interconnected. And I agree with that. We know that Africa is the cradle of humanity. Anybody who doesn't believe that is a flat earther. We all originally came from Africa. And, convincing those kind of people can be very daunting. So how would we convince others who don't share this philosophy of the unity of all people, the ubuntu? How would you take them on?
So, Tadia, firstly, it's getting easier. I wrote my first Ubuntu article in 2003, and I've been tracking how people in the world are embracing the idea of Ubuntu. It's appealed to cutting-edge thinkers in the West, particularly Americans, I've noticed. There's an amazing man called Lance Secretan. He wrote a book, One, in which he speaks about Ubuntu. And then there are people like Meg Wheatley. She's an amazing American philosopher. And she just says that the emergence of we is the sign of our times, and that it's about the importance of having a new and yet ancient awareness that we all participate in a world of exquisite interconnectedness. We're beginning to see systems rather than isolated parts and players. We're beginning to see the power of community and the collective rather than individuals. And then there's Lynn McTaggart. She wrote a book called The Bond in 2011. She reveals in her book the latest science to produce that we're all connected. Thomas Hübl is an Austrian man who dropped out of medical school after 4 years, had an awakening, and he has come up with the idea of inner science that includes the idea of the shared we. He brings people together. He brings Germans, Jews, Palestinians to Israel to meditate, to heal the shared trauma. And he's speaking a lot about collective trauma and the need to build the shared we. Those of you in California will have heard of Dr. Dan Siegel. He's a psychiatrist, a mindfulness expert. And this is the arrogant African within me. He says, you know what? The brain is not just the mind. And he describes that there's a part of us that is about the power of relationships. And he says how important the sense of greater interconnectedness, he describes how important the sense of connectedness with both our own and others in a being is. So really, for Dr. Siegel, an integrated person combines the me with the we, and it becomes a we. And there's so many other people. There's Bruce Lipton. There's Elizabeth Sartoris, who you interviewed on one of your shows, who says that we are interconnected, so science is proving it. We've known that in Africa for centuries. And thank God the West is waking up and science is proving it.
You have written about the inspiring dimension of African values, and that rarely makes its way into the mainstream US or even into Western news media. But you've been determined to strengthen the fact that Africa has something important to contribute to a change of heart that's needed in our world. Why do you feel so strongly about this?
Tadia, because there's no doubt that our world is now so complicated and our world is vulnerable. It's not only climate change, but look at the war in Ukraine and Russia now. If we are to survive, we've got to embrace the ubuntu phrase that your pain is my pain, that my wealth is your wealth, and that your salvation is my salvation, is our salvation. That's why. And we're just seeing how we are dependent on each other. The war in the Ukraine has shown we are so economically dependent on each other that it's complicated and we need collective wisdom. Now, I do believe that Ubuntu is a gift to our world. I think sadly, there are too many political leaders in Africa, actually everywhere in the world, who've betrayed some of the philosophical and beautifully human principles on which Ubuntu is based. But sadly, in the West, there are so many negative images of Africa. There's usually images of wars, famine, a poor kid begging, and that is not what Africa is. Africa is just a treasure chest of wisdom. And finally, I'm so happy to say that there are movements that are changing the narrative. There are two young women, Farai in Joburg and Rihanna in New Jersey. They both are Stellenbosch graduates. They started a movement called Africa Matters, and they're simply changing the story. We need to change the story of the world.
Oh, that's true. Oh, you've got to connect me with them. I need to interview them. Oh, please.
Yes, you do. Yes, you
Let's
do.
dig a little deeper on this subject and talk about why it's important. The well being of our world, our planet being at stake, and all the things that we're facing.
When I wrote that article on Ubuntu in 2003, it was published by the World Business Academy, and the president and founder of that academy, Ronaldo Brudico, he lives in California. When he read about Ubuntu, he said in 2003 that Ubuntu is large enough and broad enough to hold the best ideas of some of the best cutting-edge thinkers in his think tank, the World Business Academy. So we have the knowledge, we have the technologies to make wise decisions that really could create a world where everyone flourishes. But there is unbridled individualism. It's pathological. It's no longer working. Meg Wheatley and others have said that the age of the hero leader is over. Our world is too complex. The days of the big man leader is over. Thankfully, we have Jacinda Ardern and Angela Merkel, who are new political role models for us in the world. But really, because the world is so complex, we need to know how to be together, how to find shared purpose. And for me, Ubuntu and embodying Ubuntu values is the best way to do that. At a conference in Santa Barbara, I said to people, if we could sprinkle Ubuntu on capitalism and infuse politics with the values of Ubuntu, we would be able to co-create another kind of world.
Indeed, we could. You've mentored so many others. What do you hope to do for women by being a successful example to others?
Tadia, I have listened to my soul. I have listened to my heart. I had a life-changing experience and I heard that call. It was a spiritual call. I listened and I have found my path. I have found my soul purpose. I've translated it into a number of life purposes. I just hope that I'll inspire women to be able to hear themselves, to hear the lioness that they are, and to claim their own unique magic and to discover their own inner wellspring of joy and wisdom.
You talk about energy and the flow of energy with music. Can you share an example?
How I hear my energy and inner joy is in a favorite song by Yanni. It's called In the Mirror, but for me, it's like the flow of water within me. And so as I listen to it, I hear the flow of my energy, which feels like a never-ending source, a wellspring of giving and receiving faith, love, and joy. I'd love to ask your listeners, what do you hear when you hear this song?
Oh, let's play it because I want to feel what I hear when I listen to this song. So, listeners, join me. Take a good listen to this beautiful instrumental by Yanni called In the Mirror. And don't go away because we're going to be right back with Barbara Nussbaum in Cape Town. Welcome back, everyone. I'm with Barbara Nussbaum in Cape Town. This is Tadia Rice in Hawaii. And this is Womanosity for women with curiosity, like you and me and my wonderful guests. You know, I'm so in love with Ubuntu. And after having lived in South Africa for 15 years, I watched what it looks and feels like. I compare it to Hawaiian aloha. It's very similar in many ways and totally spiritual in its basis. Now, aloha is a belief system based on individual behavior that operates on what I consider a micro level, whereas I see Ubuntu operating more on the macro level as village behavior instead of just the individual behavior. Now, this Ubuntu village idea is understood to be not a physical place necessarily, but a spiritual space, a space in which we can invite others to be themselves. Why? Because they are human, because we are human, and because we recognize our humanity in one another. Something about that is divine. It's very desirable. Wouldn't you agree, Barbara?
Absolutely. I definitely agree. There are spiritual aspects to Ubuntu and more. There are also interpersonal aspects and cultural aspects. Ubuntu, as I understand it, involves the embodiment of social and cultural practices and norms and values. So let me give you an example. In Shona, which your Zimbabwe listeners will know is the major language in that country, if I met you, I'd say, Tadia Marara say, did you sleep well? You would say, I slept well if you slept well. Meaning, you and I are so interconnected that if I didn't sleep well, you couldn't have slept well. I say sawubona, that means hello, I see that you are a person. And it is divine. It's similar to saying namaste, I see the divinity in you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's social and spiritual.
Which is what aloha means. People think it means hello, goodbye, and I love you. But aloha is, I see our humanity, our divinity in one another. And we exchange breath because we are the same. It is just so much the same. It's so exciting.
It's so exciting. It's so beautiful. And I'm excited to tell you a new concept I learned. And again, it's Shona. There's a word, moyo murefu. It literally means a long heart. Having a long heart means taking responsibility for cleaning up the environment of your heart, the ecology of your heart. So Ubuntu works not only because there are communal values and spiritual interconnectedness, it's about how to cultivate responsibility to build a long heart.
I love that. Moyo murefu, long heart. Wow.
Right.
Well, when did Ubuntu come into your life, Barbara? How does Africa's Ubuntu culture benefit the world?
Big questions. Ever since the age of 16, I've had an intuitive understanding of Ubuntu. I did a thesis for my creative arts therapy degrees, and I interviewed 15 traditional healers about the role of dance and music in Zimbabwe. I studied 40 dances, and it was there that I learned about the incredible group intelligence that came out in the dances. Tadia, there were dances for everything. When you're a woman, there was a puberty dance. So rather than awkwardly buying a bra, you participate in a dance where you proudly showed your boobs. There was so much intelligence and brilliance in indigenous African culture as I saw it in Zimbabwe and as I learned. And strangely enough, that thesis for a master's degree is what got me a job a few years later in South Africa. Mandela and the ANC came to power in 1994, as you'll know. Nick Benadel, who is a visionary then at the Wits Business School, he said that we've reached political liberation and there's been political transformation, but corporate culture is so Eurocentric. So he raised money from 6 companies and started the South African Management Project. I met the coordinator of that project, and he said, hey, Barbs, won't you write a chapter on the role of music and dance in African culture? I said, sure. I came to Wits Business School. I presented slides on the role of music and dance, and that got me a job. That got me a job at Wits Business School. And we wrote a book called Sawubona Africa, which was embracing all worlds in South African management. And then I started meeting remarkable people who contributed to that book. There's Reverend Dr. Mvumi Dandala, who was then the Bishop of the Methodist Church, and Talani Mtembu, who's written about Ubuntu. They wrote chapters. So I learned about Ubuntu then. What I wish people would understand about the importance of Ubuntu is that although it's grounded in African culture and supported by communal cultural practices and norms, anybody can have Ubuntu. Reverend Dandala wrote about this. He said it, anyone can have Ubuntu. There was a mayor of New York, Fiorello LaGuardia. The airport is named after him. And while being mayor, he sometimes would spring a surprise on the magistrate in a court. And he would ask the magistrate if he could be a co-magistrate. One day, there was an African American grandmother, and she had been arrested for stealing 2 loaves of bread. She needed to feed her grandchildren. So what LaGuardia did, he said, I'm going to fine you $10. He then took his hat off his head, put $10 into the hat, and then he said, I'm going to pass this hat around to the whole court. I'm fining everyone for creating a world in which a grandmother had to steal bread to feed her children.
Oh my goodness.
LaGuardia had Ubuntu.
Wow, I've never heard that story. Oh, he had empathy, didn't he?
Absolutely, he did.
And that plays a big role in your practice, doesn't it?
It does. Empathy is critical for me. And again, I want to illustrate something about the thinking that's influenced Western culture and the thinking that's influenced African culture. So Descartes, a French philosopher, he wrote in the 7th century, I think, therefore I am. I mean, what a life. Imagine if your life was just about thinking. But the effect of this is it caused the West to overvalue thinking and overvalue science. Contrast that with Leopold Senghor, who was a West African philosopher in Senegal. And he said, I feel the other, I dance the other, therefore I am. Beautiful. So it's not just about empathy. Ubuntu requires other-centered thinking, other-centered being, and other-centered action. That's what LaGuardia did. So empathy is really about going into your heart, finding the compassion, deepening your listening, and getting beyond yourself. It's about being with the other. And I think music and Ubuntu helps us develop the ability to offer empathy, because music softens our hearts and Ubuntu lengthens our hearts.
That is so true. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I love that others, the idea of the others. That kind of goes back to what you were saying about the challenges of our world right now and how, we elevate the wrong things and we need to embrace the more, not simple things, but kind of the fundamental human things that make us who we are.
Right. What we're seeing, scientists are demonstrating how important our hearts are and how powerful our hearts are. The bottom line is that what we need in the world is a change of heart. Mindfulness is great, but we need a change of heart. We need to become fearless about being loving and allowing the love word into our workplaces. In fact, things are changing, believe it or not. I'm currently working with 4 professors from different parts of the world, and we are writing about the manager and love, discussing how managers can bring love into the workplace in the way they lead and manage others. So we need as a world to revalue the heart and to refocus our attention on the miracle of every human being, the wonderment and magic of each person's heart song. And we need to expand our definition of love. We're too hung up on romantic love, and we need to bring love into the workplace. Ubuntu is a form of communal love. That's what it is. And love needs to become a central part of who we are and who we can become as human beings.
You said it in Shona, moyo murefu, long heart. Well, what the world needs now is love, isn't it? Sweet love, like Dionne Warwick said. So let's get a reminder. Let's listen to Dionne and be reminded that what the world needs now is love, sweet love, and moyo murefu, long heart. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for but for everyone. Lord, we don't need another mountain. There are mountains and hillsides enough to climb. There are oceans and rivers enough to cross, enough to last till the end of time. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Lord, we don't need another meadow. There are cornfields and wheat fields enough to grow. There are sunbeams and moonbeams enough to shine. Oh, listen, Lord, if you want to know. There's just too little love. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm with Barbara Nussbaum in Cape Town, South Africa. This is Tadia Rice in Honolulu, Hawaii, and we are across the world exactly. Did you know that? We're polar opposites, but we're in the studio together thanks to technology. You are with Womanosity for Women with Curiosity. While we rock the world, I want to keep asking Barbara a few more questions. Barbara Nussbaum, who are your heroes and why?
I have many heroes. They range from really famous people like Mandela, Martin Luther King, or Mahatma Gandhi. Why them? They were people who lived their message, and by living their message, they changed society. I love that their message for the world was integrated into their lives. They lived their truth, and by doing that, they lived to influence many others. I also have many heroines, artists, writers, songwriters. I can think of two heroines who you also need to interview. They're in America. Leslie Ritter is a singer-songwriter and my co-author, my co-trainer in Finding Us in Music. And Dina Wiggins, they both are doing soulful facilitation. They are bringing soul into the world. I value so-called ordinary people. Uber drivers who manage to support their families and make a new life and who choose mastery over victimhood.
Yeah, you choose mastery over victimhood. A lot of people really do need to recognize that they can do that. You can choose mastery. You don't have to be a victim. Matter of fact, if you see yourself as a victim, you will be, and you just should not do that. So, Barbara, how do you walk in our world?
Tadia, I prefer the metaphor of dance, even though I don't dance as well as I used to. For me, life is a dance. On my best days, I dance in the dance of life. I engage with authenticity, faith, and trust, knowing that on most days, I'm not only playing my own soul notes and singing my heart song, but enabling others to sing their heart songs and play their soul notes. My favorite part of holding and facilitating a Finding Us in Music group is being a holder of safe, intimate space in which each person is naming and claiming who they are and respecting with reverence who other people are.
I love how you described that. So what would you say is your biggest achievement to date?
Hadia, no question, Ubuntu article in 2003. It was published by the World Business Academy almost 20 years ago. Over 16,000 people have read that article. I get requests for that every week. And if people want to read it, they could find it on my website. It's findingusinmusic.co.za, and somewhere in that website, you'll see that original Ubuntu article that is my pride and joy. But when that article was published, I cried for 2 weeks. I cried with joy. I cried for the loss. You know, I love dancing. And Tadia, I cried because I realized although I can't dance anymore, I really did something beautiful. In thinking about that memory, tears come. Maybe it's a woman thing. I don't know.
I think it's a human thing, my dear. And I'm just so grateful that you wrote that. I've read it. It's brilliant. And you have every reason to be proud and consider that an extremely great achievement. Being a woman means, I think, that maybe we feel a little more deeply sometimes, or it could just be that men have been socialized not to feel and certainly not to express things. Do you hear? Oh my gosh, do you hear that music playing?
Yeah. What incredible music.
Yeah, well, you know what it is. It's the game show. It's the Womanosity 25 questions in 2 minutes speed round. Are you ready to play this game?
Yes, I am.
Do you think you can handle this? It's pretty daunting.
Okay, I'm ready for you, Tadia.
Okay, I'm going to give it to, here's the clock is ticking. Okay, so what color or flavor is your favorite M&M candy?
Brown, for sure.
Okay, are you a cat or dog person?
Dog.
Would you rather eat chocolate or watch your favorite TV show?
But Netflix series or movies.
They're great. What's one city you've always dreamed of traveling to?
Rio de Janeiro.
Are you a morning or night person?
Morning.
What words do you live by, Barbara?
To thine own self be true.
What's one vice you wish you could give up?
Wasting time on WhatsApp or social media.
What's the best compliment you've ever received?
You've changed my life, Barbara.
Oh, that's lovely. How do you start your day?
I start the day with a short prayer, thanking God for giving me another day. Then I meditate for 20 minutes, and then I journal for 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh, that's fantastic. When are you most inspired?
When I listen to people playing their heart songs in a music of their choice, just listening to them and hearing their story and hearing the music of their soul.
Okay, food, sweet or savory?
Definitely sweet.
Okay, what makes you smile the most?
It's the magic of a human being shining on the one end and really goofy humor on the other. Both.
What's one thing that people don't know about you?
I've written over 100 psalms and blessings.
Well, you need to publish those. Oh my goodness. Okay, heels, flats, or sneakers?
Definitely flats.
What's inspiring you in life right now?
Playing with children. Last weekend, I played chess with a 5-year-old boy.
Oh, how wonderful. Oh my gosh, he's a smart 5-year-old. What's the most adventurous thing you've done in your life?
Whitewater rafting in Northern California with a fabulous boyfriend.
How would you define yourself in 3 words?
Umqali we siziba. That's 3 Ndebele words. It means one who's not afraid to jump into uncharted waters first.
That's beautiful. Diamonds or pearls?
Pearls.
Okay. What's something you notice about someone when you first meet them?
Their eyes and the quality of their energy.
What's the one talent you wish you had?
Graphic design. I'm useless at it.
What's your favorite color?
Blue.
And what color of clothing do you wear the most?
Blue or white, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah, blue.
What's the cutest thing on planet Earth?
A little puppy, especially the small ones.
Oh, I
Yeah.
agree. Oh, they're darling. What's the best thing that's happened to you this year?
To take my music for leadership work to scale on a virtual global platform. I'm so excited about it.
Oh, congratulations. Well, if you go virtual, then I can participate.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I can't wait. Oh my gosh. You know what? We've come to the end of our time. I'm so sorry. There's so much I want to ask you and so much more I want to talk about, but the show has to end. So let me end it with one of your favorite pieces of music, because you are the music woman. Who shall I play?
Talia, this is the hardest question you've asked me all night, all day. There's a beautiful French composer, Frédéric Delarue. He plays an instrumental song called Eyes of the Heart. And I want to invite your listeners to tune into the music and let the music help you to feel what it is to live in the world and see others with the eyes of your heart.
Oh my goodness. So I will definitely play out the show with Frédéric Delarue, Eyes of Your Heart. Barbara, I am so grateful that you've been with me today. This has been amazing. Thank you for all your referrals. See, ladies, this is how it works. I interview one person and they tell me about two others. And so I'm always having wonderful people to interview for you so you can learn and you can enjoy and you can do what Barbara is trying to help people do with see the eyes of your heart so we can change the world so our children can live in beauty and peace. Barbara Nussbaum, thank you so much again, Neil Bonga. I'm just so grateful to have had you here on Womanosity for Women with Curiosity, broadcasting globally on Woman Radio all around our beautiful planet.
Tadia Ndiabonga as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are a delight, and I was so happy to share this time with you. And I just bless your work.
Niabonga, Niabonga. Ladies, we stand together in unity and solidarity. Why? Because we're women. Why? Because women rock the world. Enjoy Eyes of Your Heart. Thank you for being with me today on Womanosity for Women with Curiosity, broadcasting globally on Woman Radio. Enjoy great interviews with remarkable women and music from around the world. Join me, won't you?